Hey guys, how's it going? Brendan here, aka Mr. Weaverface. Thanks for watching, and as always, thanks for subscribing to the channel. I totally appreciate it. The question I want to ask you guys is, why do you collect video games? Everyone has a different reason, and I'll talk about the reasons that I collect the video games and why I love video games so much. But if you guys could just comment in the comment section below, why do you guys collect video games? I would really like to hear all of your different answers, because I'm sure everyone has different reasons for doing it. For me, the number one reason is nostalgia. I mean, I like reliving my childhood, reliving my past. You know, times when, you didn't have a job, you didn't have to worry about paying bills, you didn't have to worry about keeping kids in line. And just, like the worst thing that you had back then was, doing homework. that's just the way it was. And even that wasn't a pain in the ass at all, actually. But just going back to that time, playing those consoles, playing those retro games that you had as a kid, and reliving those memories, I think, is part of it too. Like, I remember playing the Atari 2600 for the very first time. I'm going to give you a couple examples, but I went to my cousin's house. They had an Atari 2600. I can remember the layout. I can remember sitting there with my cousin playing games. I remember playing Raiders of the Lost Ark on the 2600. Phoenix, that's a great game. If you guys have never heard of that one. And also games like Pac-Man and Breakout and Combat and those style games. Oh, I remember playing a football game on there too. Yeah, it was it's just so fantastic. Now, I do have a lot of Atari games in my collection, but I don't actively play Atari games. The games that I enjoy, when I play my retro games, I really enjoy playing the Super Nintendo games. I feel like that is probably one of the best consoles of all time. Just what it did for that time period and the controller that came with that, with the shoulder buttons and the 4-button controller. It's like the preface to like the PlayStation DualShock controller. So I thought the Super Nintendo was fantastic, and that's why I have a lot of games for the Super Nintendo. I also have Nintendo games. You guys have seen my game room tour. If you haven't seen it, please check it out. But I, pretty much collect back to Atari up to current. And so it's just reliving those memories. I remember getting my Nintendo for the first time. I had something to do it. It's a weird story, because I remember going to the dentist and coming home, and then for some reason they stopped at this place called Terry's Music Explosion, which was like the only electronics store in the town that I grew up in. And we went in there and they bought me a Nintendo, and I had it wasn't my birthday, it wasn't Christmas, it was just out of the blue, and I thought, like, my parents were awesome. And they are awesome, but that is a great experience for me. The other experience is getting my Super Nintendo for the first time. They bought me that. They actually bought me a PlayStation 2. So that was cool. I remember getting that for a Christmas, like a long time ago. That was very cool. And also, before the first console that I had, though, was the Commodore 64. And it's a computer, but I mean, I mostly used it for playing video games. And I just remember playing so many games like Mission Impossible and the Summer Game series and Jumpman. A lot of great games that I had on that Commodore 64. And that really was my first console. I mean, the Nintendo was the first, console that I owned, but I consider the Commodore 64, I mean, it is a home computer, but I consider that my first console system that I ever got as a kid. I also collect video games because I enjoy playing video games. I know there are people, and I think it's rare that people just collect to collect. People collect to resell. But I collect because I enjoy playing video games, and that's part of my DNA. If there is part of my chromosome that says this guy is going to play video games, I have that encoded in my DNA. So to be able to pick a game from my collection and play it, and not emulate it, and play it on original console with the original controller on an old school CRT TV is just fantastic. Not to take away anything from Retron or the modern systems that can play retro games, or even playing them on emulators and that kind of stuff. And that's all fine and dandy, but for me to be able to play on original hardware and original software on an old school TV is just fantastic. There is nothing like it, and you can't emulate that. So to be able to go into my library and pull a game off the shelf and plug it into one of my consoles to play it is instant gratification. It is so great. I also collect video games because of the value of video games. Everyone's and everyone has something that they enjoy collecting. I mean, whether it's stamps or baseball cards or sports figures or autographs or anything like that. But video games is just something that I attached myself to, and I do enjoy the thrill of finding good deals. And for me, when I collect games, I don't specifically look for a game to add to my collection. I mean, sometimes I do, but I'm mostly trying to get a good deal. And I would say, just like CJR, I would say like 90 to 95% of my video game collection is free. Like stuff that I did not have to pay for, stuff that I made money back selling games on eBay and Craigslist and hustling and amassing my collection. So I think that's a wise way of collecting video games. Everyone thinks like video games are going up in value and that'll just continue indefinitely. But like anything, it is going to come back down. And even if it did, I feel comfortable with the amount of money that I spent on my collection. So the nice thing though is, it's a commodity, like trading commodities, trading corn or trading computers or technology. Video games is a commodity. Like there's a market for it. People sell on eBay, buy, sell, trade at video game stores. So I think that getting into that nowadays is very tough. Like I just started collecting, hardcore 3 or 4 years ago, and that's really when everyone was starting to collect. So it's very difficult finding games nowadays. Like I find myself, I think I am slowing down. Although I did get a lot of pickups this past year that were pretty good. But you do have to spend a lot of time, focused on, getting a good deal on a video game pickup because, they're vultures out there, man. It is very competitive finding video games, especially retro games at a good price. If someone puts up a post, you gotta contact that post, the person putting up that post in a couple of seconds, or it's not gonna be yours. So it's tough getting games nowadays, but I feel like, one of the reasons why I have so many games in my collection is that if I needed to sell them off at this stage of the game, I would be able to make a good amount of money back for my collection. I don't know how much my collection is worth. I haven't priced it out, but as far as being something of value, being something of a commodity, I think that's something worthwhile with video game collecting as well. I touched upon this a little bit, but part of the aspect of collecting video games is I do like the discovery aspect of finding a great deal, finding a rare game, finding a gem of a game that I want. I think that's amazing. Like I grew up enjoying and watching Indiana Jones. Those movies are probably my favorite movies of all time. And I do like the whole, I think I would have been an archaeologist, but I hate history, so that's probably why I never went that route of a career choice. But I like finding. I like the adventure of finding games and finding a great deal, like finding a treasure, a hidden gem, like finding a treasure like that. It is very tough, and I already did talk about this. It is so tough finding treasures or gems out there in the wild now. It is tough to do. And a few years ago, you could find deals on eBay below going asking prices of games. But nowadays, everyone's asking like above and beyond what they think the games are worth locally and online, and it is very tough. You have to put a lot of time into it, and it does feel like a second job or a third job or a fourth job. I mean, however many other hustling jobs you guys got going on. Yeah, I mean, when you do get that discovery, it is amazing. Like that feeling of finding something, putting all that time in, driving around to yard sales and flea markets, and finding something at a good price. That is definitely, that feeling is a very good feeling. Yeah, so why do you collect video games? Please answer that in the comment section below. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say. You know, what specific games you collect for, if you just collect anything and everything. What's your driving focus or drive to collect video games? What kind of memories do you have regarding video game collecting or playing games as a kid? Yeah, I love video games. That probably will never stop until the day I die. And I hope that's the same with all of you guys as well. So thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm Brendan, aka Mr. Weaverface. Take care.